Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the 2024 Winter Outlook. It's always fun to share ideas. These are very difficult to do. It's almost, in some cases, you ask yourself why you even try to predict the season, but I appreciate everybody listening to what I have to say, and let me take you through the winter of 2024. Try to keep this to under 8 minutes. Look, guys, this is last year. Doesn't get much worse. Super La Nina pattern. I didn't see this coming. A lot of people didn't. West Coast record-breaking snows, East Coast record-breaking warm, almost no snow in some regions. The winter of 2024 is going to be a lot different. I actually think that it's going to be the best winter since 2021, which was a little bit more backloaded. And I actually think it's going to be the best winter December through March as 2014. So we're going back quite a bit, 10 years, best winter in 10 years. Now, I don't think it's going to be awfully cold. It's an El Nino pattern, which will have some Pacific air. But I think there's going to be a lot of storm activity. And I think the El Nino is setting up appropriately where you're not going to have this super Nino like we saw in 2016 and 1998 that just floods the entire country with Pacific air. So let's take a look at what I'm expecting. Here's my temperature outlook. Like I said, I don't expect a very cold winter. I think you're going to have a lot of influence up that subtropical jet. There will be times you get nice cold shots, but I think this is the right play for a moderate El Nino. So below normal to the south, normal winter temperatures most places, mild up to the northwest. Here's the snowfall, though. I'm expecting a really good winter for the northern mid-Atlantic into New England, out in the Ohio Valley, 1.25 times average snowfall, 115% of average down here, average snowfall everywhere else outside the Northwest. What does that mean, guys? I like to show this map. So here's average seasonal snowfall. So for example, if New York City generally averages, say, I don't know, call it 18 to 24 inches, right? What does that mean in terms of what you're going to get based on my map? Well, it means you're going to get, say, 22 to 30 inches, for example. So this is a good way to kind of estimate what I think you're going to get for snowfall. I live up in here in Northwest Jersey. We average generally, it's a little off, we generally average about 36 to 42 inches. I think we'll get about 50 this year, for example. New York City, you'll probably get over 30 inches, right? 1.15 times or say 26-inch average. So keep a look at this map. I think it's a good way to represent my forecast. Let's go into why I'm predicting what I'm predicting. So to start off, we have an El Nino. El Nino is warmer than normal water temperatures in the tropical Pacific near the equator. Everybody's really focused on this being really warm in the east, which is normally horrible. 2016, 1998, blowtorch winters because it's in the east. However, you have to also look at how the atmosphere is responding and how this is going to change. There's a very strong consensus that this water is going to move more west with time. And what that does is it brings the convection associated with the El Nino or the Walker cell a little bit more west. That helps more troughing or colder air or good storm tracks to the east. I like to look at, this is only a snapshot of a few days, of a month actually, but where is the convection setting up? Well, one, there's not these very strong westerly wind bursts to keep this cold air, warm water piling up near Africa or South America, I apologize. In fact, it's been some weak westerly wind bursts. There is supposed to be one coming up that's pretty significant. But overall, it's been pretty tame. This shows where the convection is. I really want to see convection focus back here, not too far to the east. In the Super Nino years, what's happened is you get a lot more convection further to the east, and it just loads up that Pacific jet, and you have a blowtorch across the country. So it's really good to see how the atmosphere is responding. Also, despite the fact of how warm these oceans are, if you look at really an index of what shows the atmospheric response to the El Nino, which is called the MEI index. I think it's very important to look at this. You could see right here, for example, let's pull this up, how we're getting values now that are just moderate, okay? And I expect this will probably be similar to like a 2003, maybe more like a 2000, which is one reason. 2019 was a moderate one. Going back here a little bit, 2007. So I don't see that Super Nino happening. Joe Bastardi at Weather Bell's done a really good job of talking about a lot of these things. I like to credit what credit's due, and I agree with them. I think it makes a lot of sense. The water temperatures are one thing, but what is the actual atmosphere doing? That's what I'm concerned with, and I like what I'm seeing, especially how the models are evolving what this atmosphere is supposed to do. Here are my winter analogs. What I did was I took moderate MEI El Nino years. I also factored in something called the QBO oscillation. That's a wind pattern in the subtropics. It's right now in its easterly phase from, say, 30 to 50 millibars. What that means is you have easterly winds that are slowly descending down in the stratosphere, basically. That tends to lead to more blocking. I really like to see those negative QBO moderate El Nino years. And this is how they analog. It's pretty cold. Now, I adjusted this because the oceans are so damn warm these days. It's hard to really get full-scale cold throughout a whole season like this. But it was a good basis of my winter forecast. And here's my month-by-month analogs. December, winters, back and forth. January, February, it really kicks in. And look at this. This is the JMA, or Japanese climate model. It's pretty similar to my analogs and how it evolves that trough in the East Coast, which also goes along with what you would see when you have that convection based on the El Nino go more to the west. This is rising air. This is sinking air. You really want to see sinking air over this maritime continent. That brings you into more favorable phases of the Madden-Julian oscillation. Phases 8, 1, and 2. See, the red is sinking air. The blue is rising air. Last winter was the opposite of this. So again, this green being more west I like. If I showed you 2016 and 1998 again, this green was more to the east. And again, it overwhelmed the pattern with Pacific air. So this is a really big projection that I think is going to happen based on what I see today in the atmosphere. Here's our ocean temperature anomalies. Notice the really warm water in the Western Indian Ocean versus the cold water to the east. That's something called the positive Indian Ocean dipole. Some people are concerned that means a bad winter. I don't think so. I think it's going to really influence this MJO rotation into favorable phases and combine with more of the west-based nature of the El Nino. I think we're in pretty good shape, guys. I really do. Here are the climate models from the Ben Knoll weather site. He does a great job. European, it's really December brings it back, but the rest of the winter is pretty far to the east. UK Met pretty much did a great job last winter, and this winter it's showing the opposite, which I like to see. And then here's that JMA blend. So you can see a lot of the climate models are showing this ridging up here to the north, especially over Alaska. I really want to see that because that allows cold air to get into the pattern with a very active subtropical jet. Now, the last thing I'm going to say here, guys, I'd like to look at the fall and what the fall weather pattern's doing. We've had a very active subtropical jet, and we've had a few nor'easters already on the East Coast. I love seeing that in the fall. I'm a firm believer that when you see the pattern start to set up this time of year, it can repeat in the winter. And you could see over the last couple of weeks that roaring subtropical jet, not roaring in the fact where it's coming into the whole country, but it's combining with a good Pacific jet that has some good ridging to the north. And this is our storm last weekend, guys, which would have been all snow if it was the winter. And you can see now we're going to have another storm this weekend, which is right here. So I love seeing this pattern set up as a precursor to winter. So I wanted to show that to you guys tonight as well. So overall, I really like what I see. Here's the QBO showing those easterly winds developing, by the way, similar to 96, 94, 2003, more recently 2018, all great winters. So I want to definitely work them in. And then there's that multivariable ENSO index tracking more closely, not to 2016 and 1998, but more to some years that were more of a moderate El Nino. So that's everything that went into the forecast. Again, here it is. Snowfall above average for a large part of the mid-Atlantic and Northeast. Temperatures are going to be average, so just below to the south. And I do think you see some snow down south this year. I really do. Thanks, guys, for checking in, and I look forward to hopefully a good winter ahead. If I'm wrong, I'll be the first to admit it.